Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tao. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerer's Guild. Today on Magical Theory and Experimental Magic, we are talking about working with butterflies. Now, I've done some other videos in the past where I've been working with Daphnia or snails or water creatures of that nature and even yeast. But this time, I chose a much more complicated creature in the butterfly. The reason I chose the butterfly, not only is it because of the type of spell that I wanted to cast and the butterfly fit perfectly for what I wanted to do, but also the butterfly is a spirit that I already have a link with. I have a previous video I did on spirit animals and totems, and I talk about my connection to the butterfly in there. I earned my connection with the butterfly by pulling one from a nest from a spider's web when I was a child. And the butterfly almost immediately repaid that kindness. You see, I was running through a trail in the desert, and there was a butterfly, a big monarch butterfly that was caught in this old spider web. And it was very obvious that the spider had gone, and it was just an old web. And I thought it very sad that such a beautiful butterfly would die for no purpose at all. No one was going to be able to eat this butterfly or anything like that. So I pulled the butterfly out of the web and it flew up the trail. And as it flew up the trail, it went quite a ways ahead. And then suddenly it flew up and spun around several times before flying away. Well, like I said, we had been running up the trail. I decided to get off to the side of the trail up on the bit of an outcropping and look down to where the butterfly had been flying, where it went up like that. And there was a large rattlesnake that was right there, and if I hadn't stopped to free the butterfly and have it fly up ahead and be disturbed by that rattlesnake, I would have ran right by it myself and quite possibly would have gotten bitten by that rattlesnake. So the interaction between me and butterfly, the reciprocity, has been almost immediate, and I have always had a very good relationship with the spirit of butterfly. So I decided they were a great place to start this project. And I would also like to strengthen that interaction that I have with the butterfly. And so with that in mind, like I said, I purchased some painted lady caterpillars with the intent of raising them up here on my altar. And as you will see in the videos here in a moment, they came in a little cup with a lot of food at the bottom, and I placed it up here on my altar near my servitor tanks and allowed them to grow there. And while they were doing that, I played music to them. I posted a few videos about what was going on there, and they eventually ate the food down and formed chrysalises while I was playing the music to them, had them up on my altar so they're interacting with the servitor program, and through them beginning to reach out to butterfly, the spirit of butterfly. And then as they began to create their chrysalises on the top of the lid, there was an interesting thing that happened there. And that is, slowly, one by one, they all formed their chrysalises at the top. But the last one, she actually went around and checked on all of the other chrysalises, almost like she was making sure that everyone was good and snug and secure, before she herself formed a chrysalis. And during the process of the chrysalis formation, I actually did get one on film. And as you'll recall, I shared a video on that earlier, but we're going to have a little bit more on that. And then once they formed the chrysalises, I brought them down into the butterfly enclosure that I made over here for them and pinned them to the roof of that and began playing them a different song, a song of transformation and awakening. And slowly they began to hatch one by one, and I got some film of that as well. And then after they hatched, I played music to them as they learned to fly. Unlike a wild butterfly, because these butterflies have been domesticated for a while, it took them a bit to be able to fly. So the first few days they were just kind of flopping around on the bottom of the tank and that first batch all learned to fly. And there was just that one chrysalis on the top, the same one that was the last one to go in. And finally, I got to a point where I had been playing to these butterflies, and all the ones that had hatched already were very eager to fly off. I could feel their desire to fly out into the world. So at this point, I played one more song to them and explained the goal, the understanding of what it was I wanted these butterflies to do. And it was more than just strengthen my connection with the butterfly spirit, but also this raising up of these butterflies and returning them to the natural environment was also an offering to butterfly, with the request that with each beat of these butterflies' wings, the butterfly effect that they would cause would be to strengthen the flow of magic within this reality. So with each beat of these butterflies' wings, they would stir the magical forces of this place. And with each generation, because now they are within the cycle, with each generation of children born from those butterflies, the effect will continue and gather and create over time. And so, with that in mind, after I had played to these butterflies, I put them into one of my servitor tanks. And because, of course, the flow of magic is coming through the bridge that I created, well, not all flow of magic, but the magic that I work with is coming over the bridge that I created, which is connected to the Korus sigil. I drew a Korus sigil on all four sides of the servitor tank that I used, and I took them outside, and as
It's time to go. There you go.
I then played them into the sky and freed them so that they could begin that process. And while I was gathering them, just before I began filming that first part of this, that last one finally hatched. And so after I set those all free, I came downstairs and I began playing to her. And what is interesting about her is she fluttered on the bottom much less than the others did. Yeah, she seemed to walk with much more purpose around the tank, and she would even follow the light along the side of the curtain of the enclosure that I had made so that she could get the most sunlight to help dry out her wings. And she was very ready to fly the moment I took her outside. And with her, after I played to her, and that's where I made the real connection with Butterfly, was through that last butterfly. First I played to her, and then I simply sat down next to the enclosure and began speaking to her as if she were the spirit of Butterfly. First I explained that she would be the last one to be released, and I verbally said all the things about the spell and how I wanted this to go. And then eventually it became a mental connection as I actually felt the presence of the spirit of Butterfly begin connecting to me. And what's interesting is a lot of the people that I work with on a regular basis magically, or interact with in my groups anyways, um they all began seeing butterflies. Now it is that time of year, but it is nice to think that perhaps already there was a flow as I released that first bit of butterflies, and I'm sitting there waiting to release the next one, that butterflies are beginning to appear around people that I am working with. And I encourage that to happen from this point forward. So while I was working with her as well, I encourage that those who interact with me and with the Korus sigil in particular will be drawn to these butterflies, or rather those butterflies will be drawn to them. Yeah? Okay. So, as I said, then I connected with Butterfly, and when it was time to release that last one, which was only a few days after the first batch, because like I said, she was ready much faster. I didn't use the servitor tank. Instead, this time I took one of my hats, my pointed hat, and I placed her inside the hat, and then I used this version of the Korus sigil as a platform. Oh, there we are. I used this version of the Korus sigil as a platform as I carried her outside under the hat, and then I lifted the hat up. I was hoping she'd be sitting right here on the platform, but she was still in the hat, as you'll see in the video, so I had to get her out of the hat and put her on the platform, and then she immediately flew up and into the sky, which I was able to follow. And then we got some film of a few of one of the butterflies landing, and the spell began. Yeah, and so there is a interaction part of this, and that is simply, as I said, using this sigil, the Korus, which we have used in previous videos, and I've mentioned a bit about it and how you can use it to fly in your dreams, which I will leave a link to here. But it is also a way to connect to these butterflies and draw that flow of energy and transformation to a more magical world that the butterflies are helping to create. So now that is within the Korus sigil as well. So if you will draw this on your altar, or simply focus on it when you need a charge of transformational energy, you can use it for that now as well. And there will be more things that go on with the Korus sigil. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and start a playlist of the Korus sigil. It really ought to have its own. So, that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you once again for joining us. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. Until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tao.